The emergency lights flashed red across the Grand Assembly Hall. Thousands of beings from 47 different worlds sat in their designated sections, and every single one of them looked afraid. The air recyclers worked overtime to handle the different atmospheres each species needed, creating a low hum that normally helped people stay calm. Today, nothing could calm them. Admiral X stood at the center podium. Its crystalline body refracted the red emergency lights into patterns across the walls. When it spoke, its voice carried through translation devices to every delegate present. 12 colonies are gone, X said. 3 billion lives, consumed in less than one lunar cycle. The assembly hall filled with sounds of distress. Clicks, whistles, hums, and cries in dozens of languages all mixed together. The Devourers are not stopping, X continued. Our defense fleet has engaged them 4 times. We have lost 60% of our ships. They adapt to every weapon we use. Every tactic we try fails within minutes. A tall, green-skinned delegate from III raised one of its 4 arms. What of the quantum disruptors, the promise they would work? X's glow dimmed, which meant sadness for its species. The fleet used them in the 3rd engagement. The Devourers adapted in 7 minutes. The entire battle group was destroyed. 400 ships, gone. Silence fell over the assembly. They were the most advanced military power in the known galaxy. If their weapons failed, what hope did anyone else have? A small, furry creature from the science delegation spoke up. These machines learn too fast. They use quantum prediction algorithms. They see what we will do before we do it. How can anyone fight that? That is why we are here, X said. We need new ideas, new weapons, new allies. It paused and its glow shifted to blue, which meant determination. We need to ask everyone for help, including those who have not yet contributed military forces. A murmur ran through the crowd. Everyone knew who X meant. In the human section, Captain sat quietly. He was a small man by human standards, barely 5.5 feet tall, with gray hair and calm eyes. He wore a simple blue uniform with no weapons and no armor. Next to him sat Ambassador Minho, a younger man who looked nervous. "They're going to ask us," Minho whispered. "I know," replied. "But we've never." "I know." X turned to face the human delegation directly. "Earth, humanity, you joined the Galactic Council 40 cycles ago. You have sent diplomats, scientists, traders, artists, teachers. Your people work on every council world, but you have never sent military forces. When we ask why, you only say we prefer not to." Stood slowly. Every eye in the assembly turned to him. "That is correct," said. His voice was quiet, but it carried clearly through the hall. "The Council formally requests Earth's military assistance," X said. "The defense fleet needs every ship, every weapon, every advantage we can find. Will humanity help us?" Was quiet for a long moment. He looked around the assembly hall at all the different species, all the desperate faces, all the fear. Then he nodded. "We will send a ship," he said. Relief spread through the assembly. X's glow brightened. "Excellent. How many ships can Earth contribute? We understand your industrial capacity is significant. 200 vessels, 500. "No," said 1 ship. The relief died instantly. The assembly hall erupted in angry sounds. "1 ship," a delegate shouted. "We have committed hundreds. Some species have sent their entire fleets." "The sent 800 vessels," another cried out. "Is this a joke?" a third demanded. X raised one crystalline appendage for silence. When the noise died down, it spoke carefully. "Captain, perhaps I misunderstood. Did you say 1 ship?" "That is correct," replied. 1 ship, that is all Earth will send." "That is insulting," someone shouted. "We expected better from humanity. This is not a symbolic gesture we need. We need actual help." Stood there and let them yell. His face showed no emotion. Minho beside him looked like he wanted to sink through the floor, but remained perfectly still. Finally, X managed to restore order. "Captain," it said, and its voice held both confusion and frustration. "Please help us understand. One ship cannot make a difference in this war. We face hundreds of enemy vessels. Millions die every day. Why would Earth send only one?" Met X's crystalline eyes. "Because one is all you need," he said. "And honestly, one might be too many." The assembly erupted again, this time in outrage and disbelief, but simply pulled out a small communication device. He pressed a button and spoke two sentences in clear, calm Korean. "The council has made their request. Send the—" He put the device away and sat back down. Minho leaned over. "Captain, they're furious. They think we're mocking them." "I know," said. "What if the isn't enough?" Was quiet for a moment. Then he said very softly, "That's not what I'm worried about." Around them, delegates continued shouting. They called humans arrogant, foolish, cowards hiding behind excuses. Some demanded Earth be expelled from the council for refusing to help properly. X eventually managed to quiet everyone down. "Very well," it said, and its voice sounded tired. "Earth will send one ship. We will accept this contribution." The way it said the last part made clear it thought the contribution was worthless. The assembly moved on to other business, but everyone kept glancing at the human delegation with anger and disappointment. Captain sat quietly through it all. He did not argue. He did not defend Earth's decision. He simply sat there looking at his hands with an expression that might have been sadness or might have been regret. Minho whispered, "What have we done?" Did not answer, because the truth was, he did not know if sending was the right choice or the worst mistake humanity would ever make. The galaxy was about to learn what humans really were. And there was no going back from that. The rallying point was called Beacon Station. It orbited a dead star in neutral space, far from any inhabited worlds. This way, if the Devourers attacked, no civilians would die. The defense fleet stretched out for thousands of kilometers in every direction. Ships of every size and shape floated in organized formations. There were sleek cruisers that looked like silver fish, massive carriers that resembled floating cities, tiny fighters that moved in swarms like insects. Each species had brought their best, their strongest, their most advanced vessels. In total, there were 3,247 ships. And everyone was waiting for the humans. On the bridge of the command ship, Admiral X monitored the sensor readings. Its second officer, a being named, floated nearby. "Any sign of the human vessel?" X asked. "No, Admiral, but they said they would arrive today." "One ship," X said, and its glow flickered with colors that meant frustration. "Against an enemy that destroyed 400 of our finest vessels. The arrogance." "Perhaps their ship is incredibly powerful," suggested. "Perhaps, but I doubt it. Humans have been in space for less than 200 cycles. What could they possibly have developed that we have not?" At that moment, every sensor in the fleet detected the same thing. A subspace tunnel opening. Something was arriving. "The human vessel is here," announced. "Put it on the main viewer," X ordered. The image appeared, and X stared at it in complete confusion. The human ship was ordinary. No, worse than ordinary, it was almost primitive looking. The vessel was large, about 2 kilometers long, but many ships in the fleet were larger. Its hull was dark gray metal, angular and industrial. There were no elegant curves like ships had. No crystalline energy matrices like X's own people used. No visible quantum field generators. It looked like someone had taken metal plates and welded them together into a box with engines attached. "That's it," said. "That's what humans sent." The ship had a name painted on its hull in human letters, the HANEUL. "Scan it," X ordered. "Tell me what weapons it has." The sensors worked for several minutes, looked more and more confused as the data came in. Admiral, I don't understand these readings. The hull appears to be simple titanium alloy, no exotic materials, no energy shielding that I can detect. The power source is, I think it's fusion reactors, multiple fusion reactors. Fusion, X said. That technology is centuries old. Yes, Admiral, and the weapons. I can't identify most of them. There are large tubes that might be missile launchers, some kind of electromagnetic acceleration system, chemical explosive storage. It's all very basic. X felt something it rarely felt, genuine disbelief. Humans had sent a museum piece, a relic, a ship that belonged in a history display, not a battlefield. A communication request came from the human ship. X accepted it. A human woman appeared on the screen. She looked young, with short black hair and calm brown eyes. She wore a simple gray uniform. "This is commander of the human vessel," she said. Her voice was professional and steady. "Reporting as requested by the Galactic Council." "Commander," X said, trying to keep its voice neutral. "I am Admiral X, Fleet Commander. We appreciate Earth's contribution." Nodded. "Where would you like us positioned?" X thought quickly. The human ship was obviously not combat capable. The kind thing to do would be to keep it safe, far from the fighting. "Rear guard position, Sector 7. You will provide support as needed." It was a polite lie. Sector 7 was so far back that they would never see combat. "Understood," said. She did not seem offended or disappointed. "We'll move there now." Before X could close the channel, a younger human appeared behind on the screen. A woman with longer hair pulled back in a tie. "Commander, I'm reading the tactical briefings on the Devourers," the younger woman said. "Adaptive armor, energy dissipation fields, quantum prediction algorithms. Impressive technology." Nodded. "Yes, very impressive." X felt it needed to say something. "Have your people reviewed all the intelligence data? It is important you understand what we face. We have lost thousands of ships already." "We understand perfectly," Admiral said. Her face showed no fear, no worry, nothing but calm professionalism. That bothered X more than anger would have. "Commander, I mean no disrespect, but is this truly all Earth is sending? Your industrial capacity reports suggested you could build hundreds of vessels." "We could," agreed, "but one is sufficient." "Sufficient for what?" Smiled slightly. It was not a happy smile. "For what needs to be done. Don't worry, Admiral, we won't get in your way." The communication ended. X stared at the blank screen. "They're insane," said, "or stupid, or both." "Perhaps," X said, "but deploy them to Sector 7 anyway. At least they will be safe there." The move to its assigned position, far behind the main battle lines. The other ships in the fleet had noticed the human arrival. Communication channels filled with comments. "That's the human ship. It looks like a cargo hauler. I've seen civilian transports with better hulls. Earth sent us a joke." On the bridge of the commander listened to the chatter without reacting. Her crew sat at their stations around her. There were only 12 people on the bridge. The entire ship had a crew of 300 humans. Most other vessels this size had crews of tens of thousands. "They don't think much of us," said Jinwoo, the engineering officer. He was a tall man with graying hair. "Can you blame them?" replied. "By their standards, we're flying an antique." At the weapons station, officer looked up. He was young, barely 25, with nervous hands. "Commander, should I start charging the main batteries?" "No," said. "Not yet, we wait." "For what?" asked Sora, the tactical officer. Looked at the main screen, which showed the massive defense fleet spread out before them. 3,000 ships, all with better technology, better shields, better everything. "We wait for them to learn," said quietly. "We wait for the Devourers to adapt to everything the galaxy has. Every weapon, every tactic, every trick. We let them see it all." "And then?" Jinwoo asked. His expression was unreadable. Then we show them something they've never seen before, something they can't adapt to. Which is? Did not answer. She just sat in her command chair and watched the fleet prepare for battle. In the crew quarters below, the 300 humans on board the prepared in silence. They checked equipment that would have looked primitive to the other species. Mechanical systems, chemical propellants, simple, crude, ancient technology. Technology designed for only one purpose, killing other humans. And they were very, very good at it. Outside, the stars shone cold and distant. Somewhere out there, the Devourers were coming. The galaxy's most advanced defense fleet waited to face them. And in the back, forgotten and dismissed, one human ship waited too. Nobody suspected that in a few hours, everything would change. The alarm started at 600 station time. Every ship in the defense fleet heard the same warning. Subspace rifts opening, massive energy signatures, multiple contacts. The Devourers had arrived. On the bridge of the command ship, Admiral X watched the sensor displays with growing dread. One rift opened, then another, then 10 more, 20, 50. Count, X ordered. 200 contacts, Admiral reported. Its voice shook. Each one is. Admiral, each ship is the size of a small moon. The Devourers emerged from subspace like nightmare made real. They were not elegant. They were not beautiful. They were machines, pure and simple, built for one purpose: consumption. Each Devourer ship was roughly spherical, covered in black metal plates that shifted and moved like living skin. Energy crackled across their hulls. Weapon ports opened and closed randomly, as if the ships themselves were deciding where to place them. All ships to battle stations, X commanded. Execute defensive formation Theta 7. The defense fleet moved into position. 3,000 ships against 200. The numbers looked good, but everyone who had fought the Devourers before knew numbers did not matter. The Devourers did not communicate. They did not demand surrender. They did not threaten or negotiate. They simply opened fire. The first wave of cruisers engaged. Their quantum disruptors fired, beams of purple energy that could theoretically unmake matter at the molecular level. 20 beams hit the lead Devourer ship. The machine's hull shimmered. Then the energy simply disappeared, absorbed into the black metal plates. Impossible, whispered. We modified those weapons specifically to prevent adaptation. The Devourer's hull rippled, and then it returned fire. A beam of red energy shot out and struck a cruiser. The ship's shields held for exactly 3 seconds before collapsing. The beam punched through the hull and the cruiser exploded. One shot, one kill. Carriers launch fighters, X ordered. Thousands of small fighter craft poured out of the massive carrier ships. They swarmed toward the Devourers like angry insects. Their weapons fired in coordinated patterns, overwhelming the enemy's ability to track and respond. For a moment, it seemed to work. The fighters' weapons were hitting. Explosions bloomed across the Devourer hulls. Then the machines adapted. The Devourer ships suddenly sprouted thousands of tiny turrets across their surfaces. They fired in perfect synchronization. In less than 30 seconds, every single fighter was destroyed. Over 10,000 pilots died without even scratching the enemy. Fleet, execute missile barrage, X commanded, desperately trying different tactics. The ships launched everything they had: smart missiles with AI guidance systems, quantum torpedoes, fusion warheads. The sky filled with thousands of projectiles, each one capable of destroying a city. The Devourer's hull plates shifted again. Energy fields appeared around each machine ship, and the missiles simply stopped in space, frozen by some kind of stasis field. Then the fields reversed, and the missiles shot back toward the ships that launched them. The fleet tried to shoot down their own missiles and mostly succeeded, but not entirely. 40 ships died from their own weapons. They're learning from every attack, said. Its crystalline body had turned dark purple, a color that meant absolute terror. Every weapon we use, they adapt to within minutes. X knew it was right. This was exactly what had happened in every previous battle. The Devourers were perfect learning machines. Every tactic failed because they analyzed, adapted, and overcame. 20 minutes into the battle, 400 defense fleet ships were gone. 40 minutes in, the count reached 800. At 1 hour, over 1,200 ships had been destroyed, and not a single Devourer had been significantly damaged. The remaining fleet ships began to fall back, their formations breaking apart. Some captains were already preparing to retreat entirely. The commander watched it all happen. Her bridge crew sat in silence, watching the slaughter on their displays. "Commander," Jinwoo said quietly, "we need to do something." "Not yet," replied. "People are dying," said. Her voice was tight with emotion. "Thousands of them, tens of thousands." "I know." Turned from his weapon station. "Commander, please, we have to help them." His jaw was tight. Watching the battle and doing nothing was the hardest thing she had ever done, but she knew it was necessary. "They need to try everything first," she said. "Every weapon system, every defensive tactic. The Devourers need to see it all to adapt to it all." "Why?" Sora asked. "Because they can't adapt to something they've never seen before." The communication channels were chaos now. Ship captains screaming for help, admirals trying to coordinate retreats, medical ships begging for survivors. Admiral X's voice cut through it all. "Attention all vessels, fall back to defensive line Beta, prepare for fighting retreat." Then, in a separate channel meant only for the X contacted directly. "Human ship," the Admiral's voice was desperate now, all pretense of calm gone. "I don't care what you have, use it, do something, they're slaughtering us." Looked at her crew. Every one of them was looking at her, waiting. She took a deep breath. "Admiral X," she said calmly, "are they finished? Have they tried everything?" "What? Yes. Every weapon system in the fleet has been used. Nothing works." "Have they adapted to all of it?" "Yes, they adapt in minutes. We're dying out here." Nodded slowly. "Good, then they're ready." "Ready for what?" Stood from her command chair. "All hands battle stations. Engineering, give me full power to engines and weapon systems. Charge the main batteries, all of them." His hands moved across his controls, then stopped. He looked up with wide eyes. "Commander, confirming authorization code for kinetic protocols." Around the bridge, the crew went very still. They all understood what that meant. "Authorization granted," said clearly. "Full release, all safeties off." "Confirmed," said, and his voice shook slightly. Across the systems that had been dormant since leaving Earth began to power up. Lights that had never been lit before flickered to life. Weapons that had never been fired outside of testing ranges began their activation sequences. "Nav, plot intercept course to the enemy formation," ordered. "Best possible speed." "Intercept course plotted," the navigation officer replied. Sat back down in her chair. She looked at the main screen, where 200 Devourer ships were systematically destroying what remained of the galaxy's finest fleet. "Take us in," she said quietly. The engines flared bright blue, and the human battleship accelerated forward, leaving its safe position in the rear guard. Every remaining ship in the defense fleet watched it go. "The humans are engaging," someone said over the open channel. "One ship," another voice said. "They're sending one ship." "They're insane." X watched the approach the Devourers and felt something like grief. The humans were brave, foolishly brave, and they were about to die like everyone else. The human ship entered weapons range. And the galaxy was about to learn what humanity really meant by warfare. They crossed into combat range at full acceleration. Every species in the defense fleet watched their sensors, waiting to see what secret weapon the humans possessed. What incredible technology justified their confidence? What they saw instead made no sense at all. The human ship's hull split open in dozens of places. Large metal tubes emerged from hidden ports. They looked mechanical, simple, almost crude. "What are those?" asked. X checked the sensor data. "I don't. They appear to be magnetic accelerators." That technology is thousands of cycles old. The fired. A tungsten rod, 3 meters long and half a meter thick, shot out of the first at 90% the speed of light. The nearest Devourer ship detected the projectile. Its quantum processors analyzed the threat, calculated trajectories, prepared adaptive countermeasures. But there was nothing to adapt to. It was just metal, mass and velocity following Newton's laws exactly. The tungsten rod hit the Devourer's hull with the kinetic energy of a small nuclear weapon. The rod punched through the black metal plates like they were paper. It tore through the machine's interior, destroying systems, ripping apart processors, and emerged from the other side in a spray of debris. For the first time in the entire battle, a Devourer ship was damaged. Before the machine could begin repairs, the fired again. Not at this time, but something else. 6 missiles launched from tubes along the ship's hull. They did not have sophisticated guidance systems. They did not use quantum tracking or AI prediction. They were simple chemical rockets with nuclear warheads in the front. Dumb weapons, stupid weapons, primitive weapons. They flew straight and true, simple ballistic trajectories, and slammed into the damaged Devourer. The nuclear warheads detonated inside the hull. Not antimatter, not zero-point energy, just simple atomic fission, the same technology humans had used to kill each other 700 years ago on Earth. The Devourer ship exploded from the inside out. Pieces of it flew in every direction. The machine was completely destroyed. Every sensor in the defense fleet registered the same impossible data. One Devourer ship, eliminated. The communication channels went silent. Everyone was too shocked to speak. On this bridge, Sora called out calmly, "Target eliminated. Switching to Target 2. Range 4,000 kilometers." "Firing solution locked," reported. "Fire ordered." They had 6 batteries. They fired in sequence, one after another. 6 tungsten rods, each moving at relativistic speeds, each carrying enormous kinetic energy. The second Devourer tried to adapt. Its hull plates shifted to create ablative layers. Energy fields appeared to deflect incoming projectiles. None of it mattered. The rods were too fast, too simple, too brutal. They smashed through every defense like hammers through glass. "Torpedo spread," ordered. Weapons officer nodded, firing magnetic warheads. More missiles launched. These ones had special warheads designed to create powerful electromagnetic pulses. Another primitive technology, something humans had invented centuries ago. The missiles detonated near the Devourer's hull. The EMP wave fried its external sensors, blinded its detection systems, and scrambled its quantum processors. While the machine was blind, the fired again. This time it used something called a Kasaba howitzer warhead, a shaped nuclear charge that focused its explosion into a narrow beam of plasma. The plasma jet, hotter than the surface of a sun, burned through the Devourer's hull in seconds. The second machine ship died. Now the Devourers realized something was wrong. These weapons were different. Their prediction algorithms could not anticipate them because there was nothing sophisticated to analyze. No quantum patterns, no energy signatures that made sense. Just math, chemistry, and physics. The Devourers changed tactics. 10 ships turned to focus on them. They fired their energy weapons, beams that had destroyed hundreds of other vessels. They did not have energy shields. It did not have quantum deflectors. It had armor. Simple, thick, layered armor made of steel and ceramic and ablative materials. The energy beams hit and the outer armor layers burned away. But the kept moving, kept firing. It could take damage that would destroy more sophisticated vessels because its design was so basic. Nothing to overload, nothing to scramble, just metal plates that could be replaced. Hull breach on Deck 7, Jinwoo reported. Sealing bulkheads, damage is minimal. Continue firing, ordered. The moved through the Devourer formation like an angry predator. It fired missiles, torpedoes, and weapons the galaxy had never seen before. That used electromagnetic coils to throw metal slugs. Nuclear-pumped lasers that used atomic explosions to generate coherent light beams. Shaped charge warhead that focused explosive force into armor-piercing jets. Cluster munition that split into hundreds of smaller projectiles. Even simple, guns that fired metal bullets using chemical propellant explosives. Every weapon was primitive. Every weapon was old. Every weapon had been designed by humans to kill other humans in Earth's endless wars. And every weapon worked perfectly. The Devourers tried to adapt. Their quantum processors worked frantically, analyzing these strange weapons, trying to predict patterns. But human weapons were not designed to be sophisticated. They were designed to be effective, to be reliable, to kill efficiently. A tungsten rod did not care about adaptive armor. It was just mass moving very fast. A nuclear warhead did not care about energy shields. It just exploded. A shaped charge did not care about quantum prediction. It just focused its blast in one direction. The destroyed 10 Devourers, then 20, then 30. Sora coordinated targets with cold efficiency. Target cluster Delta, firing pattern 7. Prepare close-range engagement, explosive rounds. The crew worked in perfect synchronization. They had trained for this, not for years but for generations. Human military doctrine went back thousands of years, refined through countless wars. At close range, the Ustits. Simple guns, firing simple bullets, creating simple holes in enemy hulls. Then nuclear missiles went through those holes and detonated inside. It was brutal, it was crude, it was completely unstoppable. The remaining defense fleet ships watched in absolute disbelief. One human ship was doing what 3,000 of theirs could not, winning. Hal whispered, "How is this possible?" Admiral X understood, and the understanding filled it with a strange mix of awe and horror. "They're not using advanced technology," it said quietly. "They're using primitive technology. The Devourers can't adapt because there's nothing to adapt to. It's just physics, just force and energy in their most basic forms." On this bridge, warning alarms sounded. The ship had taken significant damage. Hull breaches on 5 decks, 1 battery offline, armor at 40% on the port side. "Engineering status?" asked. Jinwoo checked his displays. "We can keep fighting. We still have 70% ammunition, all main systems operational." "How many targets remaining?" asked. Sora checked her tactical display. 170 Devourer ships still active. Allowed herself a small smile. "Then we keep going. All batteries continue firing. Don't stop until they're all gone." The turn toward the next group of Devourers. Its weapons hot, its armor, and its human crew determined. The battle was not over, but for the first time the galaxy had hope. And the Devourers, perfect learning machines that they were learning something new. They had never fought anything like humanity before. And they were losing. 47 minutes after they entered the battle, the last Devourer ship exploded. The debris field stretched across thousands of kilometers. Pieces of destroyed machine ships floated in space, their black metal hull plates twisted and broken. 200 Devourers, each one the size of a moon, had been reduced to scrap. They drifted among the wreckage. Its hull was burned. Whole sections of armor had been blasted away. One of its engine pods was dark, offline. Smoke vented from a dozen hull breaches. But it was intact, it was functional, and its crew was alive. On the bridge, Commander took a slow breath. Around her, the crew sat in exhausted silence. They had fired every weapon system until the barrels glowed hot. They had taken damage that should have destroyed them, but they had won. "Damage report," said quietly. Jinwoo checked his engineering displays. Hull integrity at 62%. We have breaches on decks 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. One fusion reactor offline. Battery 4 is destroyed. Ammunition reserves at 18%. Casualties: 12 injured, none critical, no deaths. Nodded. 300 humans had faced 200 machine ships and survived. Sora, threat assessment. Sora scanned the surrounding space. No hostile contacts. All Devourer vessels confirmed destroyed. The defense fleet is. They're just watching us. It was true. The remaining ships of the Galactic Defense Fleet, about 1,800 vessels, had formed a loose perimeter around the battlefield. They were not moving. They were not communicating with each other. They were simply staring at the... A communication request came through. Admiral X. Accepted it. The crystalline being appeared on screen, and its glow was colors had never seen before. Confusion, disbelief, fear, awe, all mixed together. Commander X said. Its voice was very quiet. "The threat has been neutralized." "Yes, Admiral," replied. "All 200 enemy vessels have been destroyed." "That's correct." "By one ship." "Yes." There was a long silence. X seemed unable to form words. Finally it managed. "How? What? What did you do? What weapons are those?" Looked at her crew, then back at the screen. "Missiles, nuclear warheads, nothing special, Admiral, nothing the galaxy hasn't seen before." "But those technologies are primitive." His voice came from off-screen. "They're thousands of cycles old. We abandoned them because they're inefficient." "Inefficient," repeated. "Yes, I suppose they are, but efficiency isn't everything. Sometimes simple is better." X's glow shifted to deep blue. "You knew," it said. "You knew your weapons would work when ours wouldn't." "We suspected," admitted. "The Devourers are learning machines. They adapt to complex systems, predict sophisticated tactics, counter advanced technology. But they can't adapt to something that has no complexity to analyze. A tungsten rod is just metal moving fast. There's no algorithm to predict, no pattern to learn. It hits or it doesn't." "You let us fight first," X said, and there was something like anger in its voice now. "You watched 1,200 ships die while you waited." His expression hardened. "Yes, and I will carry that weight for the rest of my life. But if we had engaged too early, the Devourers would have adapted to our weapons too. They would have learned. They would have won. Sometimes the moral choice and the tactical choice are not the same thing." Before X could respond, another voice joined the channel. It was Captain from the diplomatic station where the Galactic Council met. "Admiral, this is Captain. I believe Commander has some context to add. Commander, would you like to explain why Earth prefers not to send military forces?" Nodded. "Admiral, what you saw today were not our most advanced weapons. They're not even our weapons. Every system we used was designed between 300 and 700 Earth years ago." "What?" X could not process this. "You used antique weapons. Why?" "Because," said, and her voice was very tired, "these weapons were not designed to fight aliens or machines. They were designed to kill other humans. Earth has been at war with itself for our entire recorded history. For 10,000 years, we have perfected the art of murdering our own species." She stood and walked to the main, looking out at the debris field. "Every weapon on this ship exists because a human looked at another human and thought, how can I kill that person more efficiently? To punch through bunkers where humans hid. Nuclear weapons to destroy cities where humans lived. Shaped charges to defeat armor that humans built. Cluster munitions to kill humans spread across a battlefield. Chemical explosives, biological agents, kinetic impactors, everything. Nah, the science officer spoke up from her station. We are good at one thing, Admiral. We are very, very good at warfare. It's not something we're proud of. It's something we're ashamed of. Turn back to face the screen. When Earth joined the Galactic Council 40 cycles ago, we saw species that had moved past warfare. Species that cooperated, that shared, that built instead of destroyed. We saw what we could become if we tried. So we decided not to bring our military forces into galactic space. We decided to leave that part of our history behind. But you kept the ships, X said. You kept the weapons. Yes, his voice was sad. We kept them, because we knew eventually someone would need them. There is always a threat somewhere, always violence somewhere, and when that time came, we wanted to be ready. Continued. But we hoped we would never have to use them. We hoped the galaxy could solve its problems without resorting to human methods. We hoped we were wrong about violence being necessary. You weren't wrong, X said quietly. No, agreed. We weren't. And now you know what humanity really is. Now you understand why we said one ship would be enough. Not because we're arrogant, but because we are experts at killing, and one human warship carries more destructive knowledge than your entire civilization has developed. The silence on the communication channel was absolute. Every species that was listening, and they were all listening, understood the implications. Humans were not the most advanced species. They were not the most intelligent. They did not have the best technology or the fastest ships or the strongest shields. But they were the most dangerous, because they had spent learning how to kill efficiently, and they were very, very good at it. X finally spoke again. What happens now? Looked at the damage to her ship. Now we return to Earth. We'll repair thee and put it back in storage with the others. We'll go back to being diplomats and scientists and traders. We'll go back to trying to be better than our history. And if the Council needs you again, met the Admiral's crystalline eyes through the screen, then you'll know where to find us. But I hope, for everyone's sake, that you never need to, because next time might require more than one ship. And trust me, Admiral, you don't want to see what happens when humanity stops holding back. She ended the communication. Around the defense fleet remained still. No one knew what to say. No one knew how to process what they had witnessed. On the human ship, sat back down in her command chair. Nav, set course for Earth. Best speed our damaged engines can manage. Course plotted, Commander, the navigator replied. Take us home. The turned away from the battlefield and began its journey back to Earth. As it left, not a single ship from the defense fleet tried to stop it. They just watched it go. On the command ship, X sat in silence, approached carefully. Admiral, your orders. X was quiet for a long time. Then, spread the word through every council species. Humanity is never to be threatened, never to be attacked, never to be provoked, and under no circumstances is any species to ask them for military aid again unless there is absolutely no other choice. Why, Admiral? X's glow was the color of fear. Because we asked for one ship and watched it destroy an enemy that defeated our best fleet. Imagine what would happen if they sent 100 ships, or 1,000. Imagine what weapons they have that they didn't use today. Surely they showed us everything. Did they? X asked. Think about it. Every weapon they used was hundreds of cycles old, ancient technology. What have they developed recently? What weapons exist that they decided were too terrible to bring? Had no answer to that. The word spread quickly through galactic space. One human battleship had appeared at the Beacon Station battle. One ship had destroyed 200 devourers in less than an hour. The galaxy was left speechless. And on Earth, Captain stood in a quiet office looking at a report. They had performed as expected. The mission was successful. The devourers were gone. But now the galaxy knew the truth about humanity. He wondered if that was a good thing or a terrible mistake. Time would tell. He filed the report and walked to the window. Outside, Earth turned peacefully in the void. Billions of humans living their lives, most of them never knowing that one of their ships had just changed galactic history. It was better that way, thought. Let them dream of peace. Let them believe in cooperation and progress. Some of them needed to remember the old ways, the violent ways, just in case. But not everyone, not most people. One ship had been enough. He prayed it would always be enough.